Lena up next. So I'm going to give Lena a chance to also start sharing her screen, and we make sure just all the IT stuff's working well in that. Lena is also presenting something quite close to my heart because I am based very close to Algoa Bay in South Africa. So always keen to hear more about that. Lena, it looks fine on my side. I can see it. Everyone else, no one's got a problem with seeing Lena's presentation? I think we're good to go. Lena, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put my camera off and I'll give you a peace sign of 2 minutes left when we get to the 8-minute mark. All right.
Perfect.
Okay, everyone. Lena?
If you can hear me well?
The floor is yours, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Letitia. And hello, everyone. And thanks for attending my talk. I'm very happy to present to you today and also to see so many exciting and interesting presentations. And I've already learned quite a lot today. So my name is Lena Rölfer. I'm a PhD student at the Climate Service Center in Germany. And I would like to present to you my current research entitled Enabling Climate Resilience of Coastal Social-Ecological Systems through Local Coastal Governance. And before I start, I would like to acknowledge the work by my co-authors and their contributions, Luis Sillier, Sergio Rosendo, Maria Mañez, Meredith Fernandez, Nina Rivers, and Bernadette Snow. So the study is part of the Cities and Climate Change in the Coastal Western Indian Ocean project, short CYCLICO, which is funded by WIOMSA. And the CYCLICO project is a collaborative project between the Nelson Mandela University in Algoa Bay, as well as the NOVA Institute in Lisbon and the Climate Service Center, Germany, where I'm currently doing my PhD. So the broad objective of the project is to explore how diverse and often uncoordinated objectives of coastal and marine planning can be implemented to enable better adaptation to climate change in a case study in Algoa Bay in South Africa. And I will be presenting some initial project results from the case studies, as well as the plans for my PhD project within the broader frame of the CYCLICO project. I should maybe mention that I have not been to the case study in Algoa Bay myself due to the restrictions to the pandemic. So the background of my research is the premise that several intergovernmental agreements, such as the SDGs, the Convention on Biological Diversity, and also the Paris Agreement, they all emphasize the need for resilience given increasing environmental challenges to nature and society. But the operationalization of the concept of resilience at the local scale has been challenging to date. So the social ecological resilience approach offers an appropriate lens through which to view and address the dynamics of complex adaptive systems. This means that social ecological systems need to be viewed as a holistic system, including both people and nature, at different scales, as shown in the graphic here by Fischer et al. And it recognizes that people are part of ecosystems and shape them, but at the same time are dependent on the capacity of these systems to provide services for their well-being. This is particularly important against the backdrop of temporary dynamics such as climate change. And for coastal system, of course, this also means that they have to be seen as an integrated social ecological system from land to the ocean. In Algoa Bay, the social ecological system is currently not managed as a single connected system. The land, the coast, and the ocean are viewed as separate management spaces, and laws, policies, and management tools, such as integrated coastal management, marine spatial planning, and marine protected areas, which are managed by different levels of government. So all this impacts the sustainability of the bay, and it presents a challenge to the municipality, especially in a changing climate. In a survey addressing relevant stakeholders in coastal governance of the Algoa Bay system, we found that climate change was perceived as a serious to very serious problem by 74% of respondents, with drought, sea level rise, and coastal erosion being the most cited climate-related threats. Stakeholders thereby represent governmental and non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, university and research institutes, as well as business and industry. And in the graphic below, you can see the 4 phases of the climate adaptation cycle, here in the middle of the graphic, including impact assessment, plan actions, implement actions, and monitor action effectiveness. And on the outer cycle, you can see the responses by the stakeholders. So 16% have not started to plan for climate change adaptation, but nearly half, so 43% here, phase 3 and 4, have already implemented actions or are even monitoring them. But even though the necessity for climate change adaptation is acknowledged and organizations have already started to implement some actions, the Bay needs to be managed as an integrated social-ecological system across the land-ocean interface, and an improved coordination between different management approaches is needed to enable better adaptation to climate change. So the objective for my study and PhD project is therefore to develop and implement an approach for framing the governance system of the Algoa Bay coastal social ecological system in order to enable climate resilience. So we propose to apply different methods and approaches to better understand and frame the governance system, which includes a stakeholder network analysis to understand collaboration and knowledge networks, a capitals approach framework for assessing governance capacities for climate change adaptation, and a fuzzy cognitive mapping method for mapping the policy processes. And I will now walk you through the different methods. So with the stakeholder network analysis, I want to investigate what are stakeholders that are central to knowledge and collaboration networks in the Algoa Bay system. So they are pictured here as a darker blue. And how far are climate information and knowledge already shared among stakeholders? And what is the direction and strength of information flows between stakeholders, visualized here by the arrows? And what can patterns of knowledge and collaboration networks reveal about the overlap and collaboration between different area-based management approaches, as mentioned before, integrated coastal management, marine spatial planning, and marine protected areas? With the capitals approach framework, we assess the governance capacities for climate change adaptation. And on the left, you can see a number of key elements that we here call factors that were rated by stakeholders and evaluated as positive, moderate, or negative. And on the right, the factors are aggregated to environmental, social, human, political, and financial capitals for climate change adaptation in Algoa Bay. And you can see, for example, that financial and human capitals are performing lower, which results from gaps in the technical know-how and expertise, as well as lack of knowledge and information on climate change adaptation for the human capital, as well as limited funding for adaptation and the ability to secure such funding for the financial capital. However, the results from the capitals approach framework only show a status quo of the governance capacities without providing really information on intervention points. So this is why we also applied the fuzzy cognitive mapping method, which we map the key elements and the causal loop relationships between them. You can see it on the right here, including the direction and strengths of relationships shown by the width of the connecting arrows. And by doing so, we will be able to identify leverage points in the system for enhancing governance capacities. So leverage points are places in complex systems where a small shift may lead to fundamental changes in the system as a whole. And like this, the system's emergent adaptive capacity can then be modeled. So pulling all of the methods together, once again, the figure, we try to understand the governance system and points where to intervene in the system. Thanks, Letitia. In terms of building networks, increasing governance capacities for climate change adaptation, and identifying emergent system behaviors that might leverage transformative change. And this multi-method approach will ultimately also help to identify how and where in the system the use of information services, and particularly climate services, so climate information and knowledge, can support local coastal governance to enhance the resilience of coastal social-ecological systems to climate change. And to put it a bit into the bigger picture, the figure you can see here is from a policy paper that my supervisor, Louis Soulier, and courses are currently publishing, where you can see once again the management approaches, integrated coastal zone management, marine spatial planning, marine protected areas, and how they are often separated and not managed as a single system as they should be. Also across different levels from ocean to land, shore to shore, and administrative levels. And that there is a need for a more integrated approach for ocean and coastal governance, especially with view on climate change. So the outcome of this project is to build capacity on how social ecological systems function, where to intervene, and as well as how to navigate between the different area-based management approaches across scales and institutions and integrate them for more sustainable governance of the coast and ocean. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention and like to acknowledge funding from WIOGEN and also the I2B program of the Helmholtz Centrum. And this work also contributes to Future Earth Coast, the global research project of Future Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll give you a loud clap of hands, and I see there's a few going up. Thank you very much, Lena. Nice and interesting presentation. And as I say, for me, particularly at the end of my back door, at the back of my backyard. Apologies for not giving you the 2-minute link. For somehow I got a system error on my connectivity, but I got the majority of your presentation. Can I check if there's anyone else with questions? Anyone else who'd like to start off our question and answer session? Desiree.
Okay, then I go. Hi, Lena. Thank you for this really interesting presentation. I think it's very relevant and fascinating. And I'm also just starting my PhD and I want to look at integrated coastal management. And what I found interesting is when you presented the second model where the different capitals were measured, you said that there was a perception, or it was stated that there's not enough knowledge and expertise. Okay, can I ask again, which kind of stakeholders think that, and how is knowledge and expertise actually measured or defined? So would that be scientific knowledge, or do they look at different kinds of knowledge that exist?
Yeah, thanks for your question. So we are looking at very diverse stakeholders from governmental and non-governmental institutions, civil society, research, industry and business. So very diverse. And also we try to reach out to stakeholders that like fisher associations and so on. So we assess them by organizations and we ask them to rate the different questions on a scale to 1 to 5 within their own organization. So, and a lot of them indicated that within their organization, they are lacking information on climate change and also on climate change adaptation. And that's why it is performing very low there.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. And then I think I'll follow up with you after the conference, maybe, so I also give some space to others.
Great, yes, thanks.
Thanks, Desiree.
Yeah. My email address in the chat later.
Please put your email address on the chat. And Christine's got her hand up. We've got a little bit of time for Christine's question.
Yeah, I just got a quick one. This is so interesting and very informative. And my main catch is on the climate finance. It's called LOLI, and also in that when they were scoring positive, negative, and no, like the scores, climate finance scored lowly? Is it that many people are not like financing, or like they're not aware, the stakeholders you did the survey on? And then on the sea level rise in resilience, is this study focusing on adaptive for the community, maybe socio-cultural aspects, emotional aspect on the impact of sea level rise? Maybe if it covers, or is just like not so much on it?
Good question. So I have to say that I did not do the interviews myself. So that part was a project part, and the other part that I presented is what I'm still planning to do within my PhD, but I try to answer nevertheless. So the question on the funding was more generally if they are aware of funding for climate change adaptation, and a lot of organizations were not aware of funding, or stated that they don't know how to apply for the funding. And on the second question on sea level rise, we are not specifically looking at sea level rise, but more generally, what are the different climate threats for the organizations? And sea level rise is one of the threats that was mentioned most by all of the stakeholders. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a good one. We're looking forward to do the same in the Kenyan coastal area currently.
Great.
Well,
If we
it
can
sounds
get
like,
collaboration.
You guys need to share your details with each other so you can follow up. Yeah. So again, to all our speakers, please put it on the Padlet. So Rebecca has shared the link to the Padlet for everyone, because we will save that and share that with all the participants afterwards as well.